Known for her chart-topping hits and soulful songwriting, Keri Hilson once ruled the airwaves before stepping back from the spotlight. But in 2025, she's living a life few ever imagined, one defined by elegance, inner peace, and quiet luxury. In this video, we take you behind the scenes of Keri Hilson's reimagined world, from her serene Atlanta estate to the high-end vehicles she drives with intention. Every detail reveals a woman who rebuilt her life on her own terms. We'll explore her impressive net worth, her return to artistry, her journey into motherhood, and the personal choices that shaped her evolution. This isn't just a story about fame, it's about healing, resilience, and the true cost of authenticity. Net worth 2025, the quiet millionaire. In a culture that often equates success with noise, Keri Hilson has redefined wealth on her own terms. As of 2025, her estimated net worth hovers between $5 to $8 million, not built on constant headlines or viral moments, but on something far more enduring: intellectual property. Keri didn't just lend her voice to the music industry, she lent her mind. Long before her own solo debut, she was penning platinum hits behind the scenes. Credits for artists like Beyoncé, Britney Spears, Usher, Mary J. Blige, and Omarion continue to generate healthy royalty streams to this day. Her affiliation with the writing collective The Clutch proved to be one of the most lucrative pivots in R&B songwriting during the early 2000s. Even in her quieter years, the residuals from songwriting contracts kept her financially steady. But Keri didn't stop there. Strategic investments, real estate in Atlanta's upscale suburbs, endorsement partnerships with Black-owned wellness and beauty brands, and occasional film and television roles expanded her portfolio. She's known to be selective, preferring alignment over exposure. That discretion hasn't hurt her bottom line. In 2024, a silent partnership with a women's wellness tech startup reportedly added a six-figure boost to her income. Combine that with keynote appearances at empowerment summits and licensing of her music for film soundtracks and commercials, and the sum is clear. Keri Hilson's wealth was never a flash. It was a foundation. There's a quiet brilliance in how she's navigated the business. No splashy launches, no headlines about risky ventures, just consistency, ownership, and emotional intelligence applied to financial decisions. For Keri, money has never been about excess. It's about freedom. The freedom to walk away, the freedom to say no, the freedom to create without compromise. In an industry addicted to fast fame and financial burnout, Keri Hilson stands as something rare, a self-made millionaire who got rich by being silent when it counted and speaking up when it mattered most. Career achievements, the pen behind the hits. Before she was ever the face on the screen, Keri Hilson was the force behind the scenes, a quiet genius threading her words into the voices of superstars. Her career began not with a spotlight, but with a pen. As part of the elite songwriting collective The Clutch, Keri co-wrote anthems that shaped a generation of R&B and pop. She was barely in her 20s when she earned writing credits on tracks for Britney Spears, Mary J. Blige, the Pussycat Dolls, and Sierra. But it was her lyrical work on Omarion's Icebox and Lloyd's Take You Home that solidified her as an industry insider. Her writing was precise yet poetic, verses soaked in emotion but built for mass appeal. Then, in 2009, the background brilliance stepped forward. Her debut album, In a Perfect World, introduced Keri as a solo artist with a voice as compelling as her pen. The album debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, eventually going gold. Singles like Knock You Down, featuring Kanye West and Ne-Yo, became instant radio staples, while Turnin' Me On with Lil Wayne reminded audiences of her Atlanta roots. Her sophomore album, No Boys Allowed, followed in 2010, pushing a more assertive feminist tone. Pretty Girl Rock became a cultural reset, an anthem of self-love and confidence that still reverberates on social media soundtracks and women's empowerment playlists. Keri's collaborations with Timbaland were particularly notable, blending experimental beats with her sleek, melodic phrasing. Together, they formed a signature sound that straddled pop, hip-hop, and R&B, often imitated, rarely duplicated. Though her public music output slowed after 2013, she never truly left the creative space. She shifted to smaller projects, independent film roles, and guest appearances. She became more selective, stepping back from commercialism and into artistry. In 2025, her career is no longer defined by charts, but by legacy, a respected creator, a quiet innovator, and a woman whose words still live inside some of the greatest voices of a generation. House Tour, a suburban sanctuary. In the leafy outskirts of Atlanta, tucked behind gated roads and magnolia trees, lies the home of a woman who spent the last decade redefining what peace means. Keri Hilson's residence is not a mansion built for public show. It's a sanctuary shaped for privacy, creativity, and healing. The home is a modern farmhouse, a blend of contemporary architecture and southern charm. 6 bedrooms, wide plank oak flooring, and open-concept living spaces echo with minimalism, not materialism. There are no golden chandeliers or Instagram-ready showpieces. Instead, there's intentionality. Neutral palettes warmed by textured fabrics. Sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Walls adorned with black art, framed lyrics, and vintage vinyl records. The heart of the home is her personal recording studio, discreetly built into a wing of the house. It's where creativity flows without pressure, where she writes, sings, and produces on her own terms. Adjacent to it is what she calls her wellness room, a tranquil space filled with crystals, yoga mats, incense, and journals. It's not just a room. It's a reflection of the inner work that's defined her recent years. Her chef's kitchen is sleek and functional, often filled with the scent of herbal teas or organic meals she prepares herself. Keri has become passionate about clean eating and holistic living, and her home mirrors that lifestyle. Outside, the backyard opens into an urban oasis. A meditation garden with stone pathways winds through herbs and sunflowers. A koi pond adds gentle ambiance, and there's even a cedar wood deck where she hosts small gatherings under string lights. Security is tight, but not ostentatious. It's a home designed to keep the noise of the world at bay, and to keep her grounded in the life she's deliberately built. This isn't the house of a pop star chasing relevance. It's the home of a woman who's found enough space, enough beauty, enough stillness. In 2025, Keri Hilson doesn't just live here, she thrives here. Car collection. Low-key luxe on wheels. Keri Hilson's taste in cars mirrors the rest of her lifestyle. Understated, elegant, and deeply personal. While many celebrities flaunt exotic vehicles and flashy license plates, Keri's collection reflects a different kind of wealth, one rooted in intention rather than image. Her daily driver in 2025 is the sleek, fully electric Mercedes-Benz EQS, a symbol of her quiet embrace of modern luxury and environmental consciousness. With its whisper-quiet engine and minimalist interior, the EQS suits her lifestyle. Smooth, efficient, and nearly invisible to those not paying attention. It's not about arriving with noise, it's about arriving with presence. Then there's her matte black Range Rover Velar, an SUV that balances style and substance. It's her go-to for longer drives, event appearances, and road trips through Georgia's countryside. Spacious, versatile, and endlessly comfortable, the Velar represents the middle ground between grounded practicality and soft power. But the gem of her collection is a vintage cherry red Porsche 911 convertible, lovingly restored and rarely driven. It was a gift to herself, earned, not bought, after a personal milestone in 2022, marking a season of self-forgiveness and redefinition. For Keri, the car isn't just a machine, it's a metaphor, a relic of timeless beauty, a reminder that some things become more valuable with age and patience. What ties her cars together isn't extravagance, it's the story they tell. Each one represents a chapter of her journey: evolution, freedom, elegance, and healing. They don't shout her status, they whisper her values. And while she could afford the latest Lamborghinis or Bentleys, she's not interested in symbols of clout. She's interested in symbols of alignment, vehicles that carry her, not just in distance, but in direction. In Keri Hilson's world, even her cars carry a quiet wisdom, because sometimes the most powerful engine is the one that moves without needing to be seen. Fashion and style, Afro-Bohemian elegance. Keri Hilson's style has always existed somewhere between grounded and ethereal, effortlessly blending Afrocentric roots with contemporary flair. In 2025, her fashion speaks with the same grace as her lyrics, bold without being loud, intentional without being calculated. Her signature aesthetic could best be described as Afro-Bohemian elegance. Earth tones dominate her wardrobe, rich terracottas, forest greens, honeyed neutrals, paired with tactile fabrics like linen, silk, and raw cotton. These aren't just colors and textures, they're a reflection of her spiritual journey, soft, rooted, and real. Keri is often seen in flowing maxi dresses, wide-leg trousers, and oversized blazers, layered over tribal print tops. She's a frequent supporter of Black-owned fashion houses like Hanifa, Faye Noel, and Laquan Smith, often favoring pieces that are as expressive as they are empowering. Her wardrobe choices aren't just about style, they're about storytelling. She's also mastered the balance between femininity and strength. Gold cuffs, anklets, and layered chains nod to African royalty, while her signature natural curls, often left voluminous or tucked beneath a silk head wrap, frame her look with unapologetic softness. Hair, for Keri, has long been more than fashion. It's a crown, a journey, a statement of self-acceptance. Her streetwear moments remain quietly iconic. On casual days, you'll find her in distressed denim, graphic tees from local artists, and Converse high tops, always effortlessly cool, never curated for clout. When it comes to red carpets or galas, she leans into elegance with minimalism. Gowns that drape like water, clean lines with bold necklines, and subtle embellishments that command attention without demanding it. But beyond the fabric and silhouettes, her style speaks to a deeper message: wholeness. She dresses like a woman who's not performing for the world, but simply existing in her truth. In Keri Hilson's fashion, there's no need for trends. There is only self-expression, layered, textured, and rooted in the quiet beauty of becoming. Love life and children, lessons in timing. Keri Hilson has never lived for the headlines, and when it comes to love, she's walked the delicate line between public interest and personal privacy with remarkable grace. Her romantic journey, though occasionally visible, has largely unfolded off-camera, out of respect for something deeper than publicity: authentic connection. Her most public relationship was with NBA star Serge Ibaka, a love that bloomed in the early 2010s and captivated fans with its chemistry and visibility. But behind the Instagram posts and red carpet appearances, there were real-world complexities: distance, timing, the weight of individual growth. They eventually parted ways in 2016, and Keri's heart retreated from public view. In the years that followed, she became vocal about the pressures that come with love in the limelight. She spoke candidly about heartbreak, healing, and the self-work required to break free from cycles that no longer serve. Her interviews often echoed a theme: love isn't just a feeling, it's alignment. By 2024, quiet murmurs began to surface about a low-profile engagement to a non-industry entrepreneur based in Atlanta. No public confirmations, no tabloid leaks, just a few subtle cues. A ring seen once, a soft caption, a shift in energy. But the most tender evolution came in late 2023, when it was quietly revealed that Keri had become a mother to a baby girl. No magazine covers, no formal announcement, just a single, heartfelt message shared months later, reflecting on the sacredness of becoming a mother. For Keri, this chapter isn't about performing motherhood. It's about living it, embracing the sleepless nights, the softness, the surrender. Her daughter is not a prop for public affection. She's a new song still being written. Love for Keri Hilson in 2025 is no longer something to chase or prove. It's something to protect. And in that quiet protection, she's found the most profound joy of all: philanthropy, and personal interests, more than music. Beneath the melodies and magazine covers lies a woman deeply committed to purpose. For Keri Hilson, philanthropy isn't a tax write-off or a press opportunity, it's a calling. Over the past decade, she's steadily built a life centered around service, using her platform not to promote herself, but to empower others. In Atlanta, she's become a respected figure not only in music, but in community outreach. Her most personal initiative is the Keri Cares Foundation, which focuses on mental health awareness, women's empowerment, and creative education for underserved youth. The foundation's flagship program, Girl Code, provides mentorship and creative arts training to young Black girls navigating adolescence in an often unforgiving world. Keri has openly shared her own struggles with anxiety and depression, particularly during her hiatus from the music industry. Instead of hiding that journey, she's used it as a bridge to others, speaking at wellness summits, partnering with therapists, and promoting mindfulness in Black communities, where mental health is too often stigmatized or ignored. Her philanthropic footprint also extends to international efforts. She's partnered with clean water initiatives in Ghana and supported maternal health programs in Nigeria, honoring her West African heritage through action. Outside of the public eye, Keri has cultivated a deeply personal life grounded in soul work. She journals religiously, attends silent retreats, and studies Eastern spiritual practices. Gardening has become a therapeutic ritual, her backyard filled with medicinal herbs, fresh vegetables, and flowers that bloom in sync with her inner life. She's also taken up spoken word poetry, often performing quietly at local Atlanta gatherings under a pseudonym, allowing her artistry to speak without the weight of celebrity. In 2025, Keri Hilson isn't just known for her voice, she's revered for her presence. Her life is no longer a performance, it's a practice, and in every act of service, in every seed she plants, both literal and figurative, she's creating something that will outlive the applause. Early life and background. From Decatur with dreams. Long before the spotlight, before the record deals and radio spins, Keri Hilson was simply a girl growing up in Decatur, Georgia, dreaming in melodies. Born on December 5, 1982, Keri Lynn Hilson was raised in a household where structure and creativity coexisted. Her mother was a school teacher, her father served in the U.S. Army, and between discipline and encouragement, they nurtured a daughter with both vision and voice. She was one of 6 children, and in a bustling household, music became her personal escape. She began singing at age 12 and was soon taking vocal lessons, studying piano, and listening obsessively to icons like Anita Baker, Toni Braxton, and Stevie Wonder. But even as her voice matured, it was her pen that quietly set her apart. She found herself more drawn to the words behind the music, the architecture of a perfect lyric, the rhythm of storytelling. At Lakeside High School, Keri was already crafting songs and dreaming of a future far beyond Georgia's borders. She pursued higher education at Oxford College of Emory University, majoring in theater and music, all while interning at studios and rubbing shoulders with producers and local talents. By her late teens, she had joined the songwriting and production team known as The Clutch, launching her into a professional music space that valued her writing just as much as her voice. Her upbringing instilled a strong sense of humility and emotional intelligence. Keri has often credited her family, especially her mother, with teaching her about resilience, inner beauty, and the importance of education. Those early values stayed with her, even as her career took flight, grounding her when the industry tried to pull her off course. In the crowded landscape of young artists trying to make it big, Keri Hilson's roots gave her something rare, a foundation strong enough to withstand both success and silence. And long before the world knew her name, she had already written the first verses of a life guided not by fame, but by purpose. Rise to fame. The pen is mightier. Keri Hilson's rise to fame wasn't overnight. It was built line by line, lyric by lyric, behind the scenes, where true artistry often goes unnoticed. Before her face was ever on a billboard, her fingerprints were already on some of the biggest songs in modern R&B and pop. By the early 2000s, her work with the powerhouse songwriting team The Clutch had made her an industry secret weapon. Alongside fellow writers like Candace Nelson and Balewa Muhammad, she helped craft tracks that would become chart mainstays. From Britney Spears' Gimme More to Mary J. Blige's Take Me As I Am, Hilson's ability to blend melody with emotional depth gave her lyrics a lasting resonance. But her transition from songwriter to solo star came with the backing of none other than Timbaland. He recognized not just her writing chops, but her voice, smooth, strong, and unmistakably hers. In 2009, her debut album, In a Perfect World, was released, featuring production from Timbaland and Polo de Don. It became an instant success, debuting at number 4 on the Billboard 200 and spawning hits like Turnin' Me On and Knock You Down featuring Kanye West and Neo. She was praised for her versatility, able to slip between pop, R&B, and hip-hop with ease, and her confidence on stage matched the introspection of her lyrics. Her sophomore effort, No Boys Allowed 2010, leaned even harder into empowerment, giving the world Pretty Girl Rock, which became a self-love anthem for an entire generation. Yet fame came with friction. A rumored rift with Beyoncé fans, fueled by an alleged diss track, ignited controversy that would follow her for years. Online vitriol escalated, and industry doors began to close quietly behind the scenes. Still, even as her mainstream visibility dimmed, her influence never faded. Keri Hilson had already cemented her legacy, not just as a performer, but as a creator. Her rise wasn't about spectacle, it was about substance, and the industry, whether it admitted it or not, knew her pen was mightier than most voices. Hidden talents and lesser-known facts. Behind the spotlight, beneath the layers of fame, Keri Hilson is a woman of quiet complexity, full of surprising skills, private passions, and personal rituals that rarely make headlines. What most fans may not know is that Keri is classically trained in piano, having studied the instrument throughout her adolescence. Long before auto-tune and studio trickery shaped modern sound, she understood music at its core: chords, scales, dynamics. Even today, she often composes melodies by ear on her upright piano, tucked in the corner of her home's creative studio. She's also fluent in Spanish and conversational in French, a result of her early interest in linguistics and travel. These languages have appeared subtly in her songwriting and occasionally in unreleased vocal demos. She's fascinated by how different cultures express love, heartbreak, and resilience, and often uses translation as a tool for lyrical experimentation. Another hidden facet of her artistry is spoken word poetry. In recent years, she's quietly performed under a pseudonym at local open mic nights in Atlanta. These pieces, raw, unfiltered, and emotionally dense, offer a rare window into her inner world. She writes not for applause, but for release. Beyond the arts, Keri has an intense interest in numerology and metaphysical studies. She often references life paths, spiritual awakenings, and personal cycles when reflecting on her career timeline. Her journals are filled with affirmations, tarot notes, and life lessons decoded through numbers and intuition. It's not superstition for her, it's spiritual strategy. She's also an avid gardener and herbalist, growing everything from mint and lavender to aloe and calendula. Her kitchen is lined with jars of dried roots and teas she blends herself. Healing for Keri isn't just emotional or spiritual, it's botanical. These lesser-known layers aren't eccentricities. They're expressions of a woman who has lived many lives within one and who continues to expand inward and outward with intention. Keri Hilson isn't just a singer or a songwriter. She's a seeker, a thinker, a quietly radiant soul who finds beauty in places most people overlook. Scandals and setbacks, silence and strength. For all her talent, beauty, and grace, Keri Hilson's journey hasn't been without turbulence. Her career, often praised for its creative brilliance, has also been shadowed by controversy, much of it rooted in perception rather than truth. In the early 2010s, whispers turned to headlines when a leaked remix of her song Turnin' Me On was interpreted as a veiled diss toward Beyoncé and Ciara. Though Keri never confirmed the intent, the damage was done. Fans of the artists, particularly the Bayhive, launched a relentless digital campaign against her. Memes, hashtags, and hate flooded her social media. What may have been an industry slight became a cultural storm. But what many overlooked was the emotional toll this took on Keri. In later interviews, she opened up about how the backlash triggered anxiety and depression, leading her to take an extended step back from music. She spoke with vulnerability about the isolation of being misunderstood and the pain of watching her passion become politicized. Rumors of industry blacklisting circulated quietly. She went from award stages and prime-time interviews to near silence. The girl who had once topped the charts now found herself frozen, creatively, emotionally, professionally. But Keri didn't disappear. She retreated, to heal, to redefine success, to rebuild her self-worth away from public opinion. That silence, often misread as defeat, was in truth her greatest act of self-preservation. And when she returned, slowly, purposefully, it was without apology. She chose indie projects, empowerment talks, and mental health advocacy. No comebacks, no revenge tours, just quiet resilience. In an era where clapping back is the norm, Keri Hilson chose stillness. Where many would seek vindication, she chose healing. And in doing so, she transformed scandal into testimony, not of weakness, but of strength. Her story reminds us that sometimes the hardest battle isn't in the public eye. It's the fight to keep believing in yourself when the world has turned its back. Legacy and cultural impact. The woman who wrote the words. In the ever-shifting landscape of music, legacies are often measured by awards, streams, and virality. But Keri Hilson's legacy defies those metrics. Hers is not the story of a woman who chased fame. It's the story of one who quietly shaped it, then walked away to preserve her peace. At her core, Keri is a songwriter, a wordsmith who helped define the sonic blueprint of early 2000s R&B and pop. Long before social media turned fame into a numbers game, she was crafting hits from the inside. Her pen gave voice to global icons, and in doing so, she established a rare kind of influence, invisible but undeniable. Her transition from behind the scenes to the spotlight helped pave the way for other songwriters to become performers. Artists like Neyo, Frank Ocean, and SZA followed similar paths, but Keri helped build that bridge. She was a prototype of the multifaceted modern artist, part lyricist, part performer, part visionary. Beyond music, her cultural impact lies in her authenticity. She was never molded to fit the industry's standards of femininity or fame. She was outspoken about self-worth, mental health, and Black womanhood, long before it became a trend. Even in silence, her presence challenged norms. She proved that you could be talented without being loud, brilliant without being boastful, and influential without being constantly visible. In recent years, her empowerment work and philanthropic efforts have deepened her legacy. Young women see her not just as a singer, but as a mirror, a reflection of what it means to evolve, to falter, and to rise again with grace. Keri Hilson may not have a shelf lined with Grammys, but she has something rarer: reverence. Among her peers, she's seen as an artist's artist, a creator who left an imprint not just on charts, but on souls. In a culture that often forgets what it doesn't constantly see, Keri's legacy endures. Because when the spotlight fades, it's the words that remain, and hers were always worth remembering. In a world that applauds volume and speed, Keri Hilson has become something radical. A woman who took her time. A woman who stepped back, not because she was lost, but because she was learning how to live on her own terms. Her story isn't wrapped in tabloid triumphs or dramatic reinventions. It's softer, slower, a life rewritten in lowercase, where the quietest chapters carry the most weight. In 2025, she is not chasing relevance. She's curating resonance through her words, her wellness work, her motherhood, and her music, old and new. She continues to shape a narrative rooted in authenticity. Keri Hilson is no longer defined by the hits she wrote for others or the controversies she never addressed. She's defined by her wholeness, a mosaic of talent, heartbreak, faith, stillness, and survival. A reminder that success isn't always about staying at the top. Sometimes it's about choosing peace over pressure. She may not top every chart or trend on every platform, but her impact is deeper than digital footprints. She's become a blueprint for artistic longevity and personal rebirth. Her lifestyle in 2025, grounded, graceful, intentional, isn't an aesthetic. It's an evolution. And while the world once waited for her next big hit, what they've received instead is something far more valuable, a living example of what it looks like to grow, to heal, and to rise, without needing applause to justify the journey. The girl from Decatur who once wrote for the stars became one in her own right, not by force, but by faith. Keri Hilson is still writing, still creating, still loving, still learning, and above all, still singing her song.